As the title suggests, today I'll be teaching you how to do advanced Gunpla modeling techniques in order for you to get started on customizing your Gunpla. Today I'll be using the entry grade RX-782 Gundam, which is actually a very versatile kit once you applied all these techniques. Here's the tools of the trade. You'll need a hobby blade with multiple extra blades on hand, metal files, you can get them pretty cheap on DIY stores, some ruler set with a triangle and a small ruler preferably to make your life easier, multiple grits of sandpaper, pliers, super glue, Tamiya extra thin, that will be a very versatile tool, and a nail filing block or a buffing block that will be very useful later on. And let's get started. As simple as a technique this is, I see way too many people not removing their nubs on their belts. So this is the absolute basic way, no care in the world ever, way to remove nubs. As you can see, you don't have to cut the part exactly at the place that it was molded on, the gate. You cut on almost near, but you should remove the gate, and you should use a hobby knife, as you can see, to take the nub off, and use your metal file. Preferably you should stroke in one direction, and as you can see, it's very clear, it's very clean, and that's the basic of the most basic of nub removal. These metal files usually cut rather than sand, so these are preferable. And here's the completed shield. Safety flags on Vfins. You will usually see this on high-grade kits most of the time. And in order to remove this, you should take off the flags. And first, we gotta disassemble the head of this thing. Now, as you can see here, you should use your pliers, but you should not cut already all of the flag. You should cut half of it and try to trim it using the X-Acto blade. As you can see, I'm just adjusting for a bit, and mostly you should do the rest of the work trimming using a brand new or relatively new hobby blade. Just be careful, preferably don't do what I did there with my thumb in the way, and yeah, as you can see, we have the file. Now make sure you contour the file to the flat areas so you wouldn't do other shapes or anything, it won't deform the Vfin, and yeah. Progressive sanding, just using my sanding stick here to make it easy, and as you can see, it's improved a little bit, and we're using our nail block here to remove more excess plastic and flattening it and smoothing it out. And as you can see, it looks way a lot better. It looks relatively realistic, and as you can see, we're just applying it back to the helmet. And we're gonna apply this helmet. Yeah, it is a helmet on the EG RX-78, as you can see. And yeah, you can see here that it looks way better rather than the one that had the safety flag on it. This is a really easy technique to test your sanding game on. Always remember to contour your sanding tools on flat areas so as you won't deform the parts that are near them, because you might soften edges and whatnot, which is a technique that I'm struggling with, but yeah, that's basically it. Many, if not most, high grades have seam lines you would preferably want to clean up. So here's a simple technique on how to do the seamline removal. First, you gotta disassemble a part. So watch me struggle here as I remove this part with my part separator, aka my long thumbnails. And yeah, we're just gonna wait for this guy to remove his freaking part. There, finally he removed it. And then we will start making the peg holes bigger. In order to do this, we just use our crafting knife or our hobby knife, whatever, to make the holes bigger. As you can see, I'm just doing this technique so it will be easier, as you can see. And yeah, now on to the next one, which in here I am making the pegs a little bit shorter so the fit will be way looser, because we are just gonna remove the seam line here and we're gonna do it. Next off, we're gonna sand a bit, lightly sand the edges where you would be applying glue. So in this case, the parts where the edges on where the pegs were. So yeah, basically just sand it lightly. and we're just gonna apply this back. We're gonna peg this back in, and we're gonna start adding our glue. Right here I have Tamiya Extra Thin cement. You can use any kind of cement, though I just use Tamiya Extra Thin because it's faster, and I kind of want to get a hand on that soup, that Mr. Cement SP, but anyways, not about that. As you can see, we're just gonna apply the cement into the area where we want it to be removed, the seam where we want to be removed, and we're just gonna apply it on both sides here. I use pretty liberal amounts so as to make sure that once you squeeze it, there will be excess pouring out of the seam line. These will be very useful because once this dries and once you try and sanding it, it would be very clean later on. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but yet there, you can see some excess cement pouring off, which is also bringing the plastic in. So once this dries, you can be able to smooth this to a smooth surface. Once the part is dried, you can see the excess cement right there. And in order to remove that, we will be using a technique called wet sanding. And as you can see here, I have a cup filled with just any type of water really, and I have a 400 grit sandpaper. And first of all, you just dip it there, drip. I almost said drip. And yeah, first we're just gonna try and sand this. As you can see, once again, with the Vfin sharpening technique, you contour the sandpaper to the flat surfaces so you won't deform the sides or anything else. And as you can see, I'm just sanding, and we're just gonna sand away. Progressive sanding for 100, 600, 800, 1000, and nail block. And we're just gonna wait for this guy to do his wet sanding. Once you finish progressive sanding, you have successfully cleaned your seam line, and be proud of yourself and pat yourself on the back. Probably one of the easiest techniques on this list. In order to identify a mold line, check out your single molded parts. If you feel something in the middle that is raised, that's not a detail most of the time, that's a mold line. In order to remove a mold line, you just get your hobby knife and you scrape away the mold line because it is raised and it would be very easy to scrape off. And as you can see, there is part shavings there. That's the mold line. So after you shave the part off, you will do progressive sanding on it. Nothing really out of the ordinary, just the same things that I taught you in the last few techniques. many high grades will have their front skirts molded together, but they can be separated, just like what Kakarot would say, and it's pretty easy to do. On the entry grade RX-78, you just cut the middle, because this is on a dumbbell joint, and yeah, you just shave it off really. And just watch the video, because that's really it. Once you've separated the front skirts, they would move independently from each other, which looks way more sensible rather than both skirts being raised while one leg is raised. Once you start to apply the first set of techniques I taught you, here's the result you'll have. And it's pretty good. I mean, you got a Vfin that looks better, and it doesn't look like a toy, because it does look a bit sharper. You have seam lines that aren't visible anymore, and you have mold lines that would make the kit you have look less of a toy and more of an action figure, or a pretty good one to say. And yeah, I mean, this is your first venturing into your modification in Gunpla. But if you want to take it to the next level, then keep watching, because I got a few more techniques on hand. Bringing in my TR1 horizontally, there was an issue here that had the seam line literally in the middle of the arm part. After I cleaned that up, I added panel lines there, and believe me, this is really easy. And the tool I used here, which is literally just an X-Acto blade stuck onto a piece of plot plate. That's really it. And as you can see, you can probably make up how I made this, but I will teach you how to do it. And we're gonna check out what measurement this specific blade I am holding here is. And as you can see, it's 1mm. Depending on how you make this, you can make 4mm, 5mm, which I will show you later. This is really easy to do. And as you can see here, these are the other sizes I have on hand: 3mm, 5mm, 1mm. And as you can see, you can use plot plate, but if you can't get any, check out your runners, because they have plot plate there. You see that lettering there, that what we read when we build models, you can use that as alternative plot plate for this. And first of all, you have to remove this part. So of course, we're just gonna get the plate part there, so we're just gonna start removing it. We're just gonna use our hobby blade to cut it off. So where did I pick up this technique? Well, I was just scrolling through Pinterest on scratch building inspiration, and I saw this technique of using the X-Acto blade and sticking it onto plot plate in order to do some panel lining. It was really revolutionary for me, because it was really easy to do simple straight panel lines after this. And as you can see, after I cut this off, I'm just sanding it with a metal file. And using a metal file, it's easier because it cuts. Metal files usually cut rather than sand, so that's why I prefer using it here. And as you can see, we're just gonna smoothen this out a bit using the sanding block, or sanding stick rather, that I had on hand. It's just really smoothing, and as you can see, I'm wetting it there, and there goes the blade ripple. I'm just wetting the sanding stick in order to have less dust go in my surface and on my face. And yeah, clean up the edges too, just in case, so it will be level. And that's really it to make this part smooth. And as you can see there, I cleaned up the edges, and of course you can see the bead tree there, but there's no more raised details anymore. And if you have your extra hobby blades on hand, like I told you in the beginning of the video, if you listened, As you can see there, we're gonna measure in millimeters. As you can see, I'm using a ruler here and I'm gauging on what kind of size we'll be using. And as you can see, we're gonna make 1 millimeter. You can make 2 millimeter to 3 millimeter depending on the angle on how you stick your blade. And as you can see, if you angle your blade enough, you can get multiple millimeters on there. And once you have your part size there, you can start gluing that, and preferably I'd put another piece of plot plate on the other side and sandwich the exact blade there. And yeah, as you can see, if I glued that, we'd have a 4 millimeter type of panel line scriber, but I won't be using my extra last few hobby blades there. And yeah, that's the final product. That's really how I made that thing. And as you can see there, we're gonna start using this thing. So you can see how I used it in this shoulder pad right here. I added a simple panel line, and yeah, this is one of the easiest no-fail panel lining techniques, honestly, ever. So in order to use this tool, as you can see, I have this in 3 millimeters, and yeah, you can see the protruding part before it hits the blade. You guide that protrusion in order to glide the blade, so you would have a straight cut almost all the time. You can probably see right here, I don't know if I explained it well to you, I hope you can see it properly. Now you can see I did do a small protrusion, and next we're gonna use an old hobby blade, and preferably the tip should be a bit damaged, but the tip should be, well, not on the blade anymore, basically a used hobby blade, and we're gonna use that back of the hobby blade to make it even deeper. And I'm just gonna do it multiple times, multiple passes, in order for the line to go a little bit deeper. But be careful, don't overdo it. Don't apply too much pressure, or else you're literally just gonna cut the part out. We're just gonna make a protrusion there. We're just gonna clean up the line we did. And as you can see, you have a clean line there. And in order to make it even more clean, remove the shavings, just apply some Tamiya's thin cement there in order to melt off the extra shavings we have. And so you can see it better. I hope you can see it better. But yeah, that's basically how you use that tool. Congratulations, you just finished your first panel line scribing. Once you know the versatility of this tool and when not to use the technique, it can be very, very helpful in your advanced Gunpla modeling. It would help you make more panel lines, like really. I just gave you Pandora's box of panel lining for beginners basically. But what if you messed up your panel line? Like really messed up? Well, don't worry, it would be pretty easy to fix. You just really need patience at this point. So yeah, you got your plot plate, and you should get the shavings there, and you should apply cement on the gap you made that you think you fucked up. And as you can see, I'm applying cement on top of those shavings, so if those shavings melt, it will go into the panel line you did poorly, or the panel line that you didn't intend to be there. And as you can see, I'm just pushing the melted plot plate on top of my gap, which I fucked up. So once you really mess up your panel line, this would be the consequences, but at least you're comfortable how to do it, and just in case you did mess up your panel line. As you can see, that's how I shaved those shavings that I added on the gap, and I'm just adding a little bit more because I kind of needed to, because it was a pretty big mess up that I did. Sheesh. But yeah, don't worry much if you fuck it up, because as you can see there, I'm just adding thin cement, and yeah, basically after this dried, you can just do your progressive sanding and it would look good as new. You can see the differences on these two front skirts here. One has raised details on it, while the other one is plain out-of-box stock. As you can see, it looks way more interesting than the other one. And how did I do this? Well, if you were paying attention to how I did the DIY scribing tool and the alternative claw plates I told you, it's pretty much the same, except you're just gonna get the yellow runner and you take the flat part on the yellow runner on the RX-78EG, as you can see there. And you will see me, I already have cut the other one from the other plastic yellow sprue. Same principles apply here. You sand this up to make it a smooth surface so there won't be any raised details or anything, and so it will be flat. So yeah, just sand this off. Like I said, use a metal file so it will be very easy. And we're just gonna smoothen this out a bit with my pretty used sanding stick. Please forgive the shaking of the camera. I've been hitting it for a while, and yeah, I am very sorry about that. And as you can see, the surface is pretty smooth. Now, ruler. If you get the rulers from the cheap sets that you got, I'm gonna show you a technique on how to do the measurements. So you can see that inch line there, like you see those small lines, top, medium lines, long lines there, you see that? Those will be pretty important later, and I will show you how to utilize these lines in order to do measurements. And usually, like I said, I do the measurements when it comes to lines using the millimeters. And as you can see, it's pretty useful to use a clear ruler too. And as you can see there, you see that long line over there? If you put it near the edge of the part, you can get a pretty straight line. And yeah, as you can see, I'm starting to cut. And I'm starting to cut a straight line, nothing much, just getting enough of what I need. And as you can see there, that's the part that we will be using in order to do that raised detail. See right there. And I already cut a part, so just to be a bit consistent. And as you can see, we're just gonna get a ruler again, and like I said, we're just gonna use the millimeters on this. This is where I usually measure my length for what I need. And as you can see, I'm gonna cut 1 millimeter of this very small plastic that I got from the runner, from the sprue, like I said. And as you can see, wait for it. And yeah, I already cut in one part. And we're just gonna do it again. You can see it right there. If you have a knife that's sharp enough, you can pick these up by just poking them. And as you can see, I'm just gonna do this technique again. Nothing much. Now we got our two parts right here. Now before that, here's our skirt part, and I usually like to sand 400 or 600 grit, so in order for the glue to be more effective. Just sanding away. And as you can see, we're gonna transfer the measurement we had from the other skirt to the skirt that's having detail. You see those two small lines there, where how I used it? You can see right here. There, the two medium lines on there. This is the benefit of using a transparent ruler. And as you can see, I'm going to transfer that using a pencil. I'm going to guide myself using a pencil, and we're going to see how far apart would the protrusion be on top of the front skirts. And from what I measured here, it's 1 millimeter. So we're just going to mark 1 millimeter on the line we already did earlier. And as you can see, I just applied, yeah, I think that's 1 millimeter. Yeah, it's 1 millimeter. And yeah, as you can see, I applied or transferred the measurement so it would be mirrored. And as you can see here, I got my plastic cement ready, And we're just gonna put the part, oh fuck, well anyways, we're just gonna add glue and we're gonna put the part there inside the line where we added the measurement of 1mm. And we're just gonna do the same thing on the other side. I hope you got what I meant on the measurements and you got what I meant on the video. Hopefully I explained it well on video because I really don't know how to articulate myself that well. Hopefully the video helped. But yeah, what you're gonna take here is how you can add raised details that are the same color. Congratulations! You just took your Gunpla modifying to the next level. And of course we want to do that next level, right? And as you can see, the front skirts look way more interesting than it did out of box, and of course the panel lines that we did. And hey, why not? Let's do an Instagram hashtag TRR hashtag TRR EGRX78. I guess that's good enough. I don't know, it will probably flop. But yeah, I kinda wanna inspire you, and I am gonna show you that the RX78EG, if these techniques are applied, can be a versatile kit. Apply the techniques I taught you in the entire video, and if you get a little bit creative, you can get a result that looks something like this.